Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming out this evening on this beautiful night to hear College Prep 101 for Parents. We are very blessed to have a wonderful panel of presenters here who are absolute subject matter experts. They will each go through and share some of their wisdom with you, and then there will be some time for questions at the end. We will ask that you save your questions till the end. However, if you have something that arises during the presentation itself, if you would like to write that down on a card and just hold it up, you should have gotten a card and a small pencil when you walked in. If you'll just hold that card up, we will be coming around and collecting those throughout the course of the evening. We'll be sitting towards the back, so we'll see you waving it around. And then we'll pick those up, and hopefully we will be able to get to as many of those questions as possible during this evening. Otherwise, we will have them available and posted online after tonight's presentation. There will be the presentation itself posted online, as well as a video of tonight's presentation. So please do feel free to check online for that. At the end of the slideshow, you will see a QR code. If you wouldn't mind scanning that, that is the link to the feedback form. And as we are growing our Legacy Parent Academy and planning for next year, we are always interested in getting your ideas of how we can make things better and better find topics to suit your needs. So we definitely appreciate that. Thank you again for your attention. And with that, I will hand that over to Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you and welcome tonight to the Parent Academy. My name is Mary Frances Schmidt and I am a counselor at May Creek High School. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about the timeline that we kind of looked at, all the counselors kind of follow for our students. What you need to be looking at in junior high and then 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Remember, if you have junior high kids, it's important to be talking to them about college. It's important to be talking to them about their grades and staying on top of things. Because if they're taking a junior high or a high school class in junior high, that credit counts for high school, which means that's going to count for their GPA, that's going to count toward their credit total. That counts for them. It can't be redone. It can't be taken off the transcript. That counts for them. So it's super important as you're planning your 8th grade course selection. If they're taking a high school credit, please make sure that they are aware that counts to the high school. All right, so our freshmen, when you're talking to, we've just done course selection in the district. We're wrapping that up. Make sure your kids are choosing classes wisely. What's appropriate for them? What do they need? What are they interested in? We want to make sure that your student is engaged in the high school, and so we want to make sure that they feel confident and successful. So we want to make sure those classes are appropriate for them. Grades are important, and they do matter. And so for a lot of our kids, GPA, they don't understand that GPA starts as soon as their high school credits start that first semester. So it's really important to stress to them that grades do matter and it will catch up with them later. Go ahead and start researching those colleges and careers. Like I said, talk to them about that. Encourage them to find an activity that they really like and get involved. It's really important for them to feel a connection to their community, all right? And to look at Naviance. Another thing that a lot of kids don't realize that they need to be doing is they need to be building their resume. In Naviance, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, they can build their resume, and it will last with them 3 years after they graduate from high school. In the junior year, we're going to talk to them, we're going to meet with them individually, and we go over their graduation requirements, okay? They continue to add to those resumes. They might want to think about getting a job. They need to start thinking about, do I like working with my hands? Do I like math? Do I like science? Because they need to start thinking about where do they want to go to school? What do they want to do? They want community college? They want trade school? Do they want a 4-year university? Okay? It's also important for you to visit and talk with those schools that you're interested in. Do they want a big school like U of H? Or do they want a small school like St. Thomas? Go on those college visits. Have them experience the school so they know what they want. Because remember, their college is going to be their home. They have to be proud of those colors. They've got to like the people that are going to be there. It's not just about the name. It's about their experience there. Junior year, in the spring of their junior year, they need to be looking at taking their SAT or ACT. All right? They take the PSAT in 10th grade in October. They take the PSAT in 11th grade in October, and they get those scores back in December. They also get the code back for Khan Academy. This is a great way to help them study. It's a free resource. It's connected with their PSAT scores. It's customized to how they did on the PSAT to help them increase their knowledge and awareness of what they need to be working on to do better on the SAT. All right, senior year. If we need to retake the SAT or ACT, we're going to do that. All college applications open by August the 1st. For a lot of kids, it's super important for them to go ahead so that their senior year can be a little less stressful if they go ahead and have those applications done before we start school, okay? Again, if they've narrowed it down, they had 5 schools they're interested in, now they're interested in 2, go visit those schools again. Make sure that they're really interested and they want to be there. You do have college essays for scholarships and for admissions. They need to be working with their English teachers on that. Stay after school. Lots of our counseling staff, we have programs after school where they can stay and they can work on those things with a counselor. We want to apply for financial aid. That opens October 1st. Our Advise Texas folks are going to talk to you about that in just a few minutes. We want to make sure that their grades stay strong, okay? Senior year is not about being easy. Senior year is not about just giving up at the end. That matters. It goes on your transcript, okay? And that transcript is what is sent to the colleges. All right? All right, and so then when they apply for school, they're going to take care of their financial aid in October. They're going to get their acceptance letters. They're going to make their decisions, and then they're going to apply for housing. And that's super important that they are staying on top of their email, that they're looking in their portals for whatever school that they choose, because they'll give them the timeline of what they need to be doing and when. All right, Naviance, real quick. Naviance is the software that we use. It does a whole bunch of stuff. It is a great research tool that you can look up colleges. The Super Match is my favorite feature because you can go in and put in, I'm interested in studying biology. I am interested in a small school. This is my PSAT or my SAT scores. And then it will narrow down all the schools that have those requirements so you can start researching them. And then you can click on that school and you can see, because it'll have your kids' information, it will have a comparison at the bottom. If you go into admissions, it has a scattergram that shows all the kids in your school that have applied to that, what their SAT score was and what their GPA was, and who was admitted. Okay, so you can kind of compare yourself. Where are you compared to other people on your campus that have applied there? Okay. You can keep your resume in there as well. Like I said, it lasts for 3 years after you graduate from high school. It'll be there. And it's real simple. You just go in and you add your information. It will format it for you. Okay, so it's a really great feature for our kiddos. We also have a scholarship list in Naviance. You go into the colleges section, you go into scholarships, and we keep a running list of all the scholarships. There's also the National Scholarship Search, which has like $1 billion worth of scholarship opportunities. And you go in and, again, you put your information in, and it will filter those scholarships that are potentially a match for your child. Your student has Naviance through their MyKD Cloud. For our KDISD students who are in here, they know how to access this. You go to MyKD Cloud, you search for your school's tile, Naviance, then whatever your school is. You use your KDISD information, and it will log you in. Parents, you should have received an email at some point giving you your access. If you have not received that, just reach out to your campus, and they can send you that because you have access as well. Now, know that you can't go in and do the work in Naviance for your kid. The point of Naviance and that child having access is so they can go in and they can update their resume, and they can go in and they can take assessments. Maybe they don't know what they want to do. There are assessments in Naviance that they can take that give them ideas based on what their interests are. So we want them to take it, not you guys, okay? All right, I'm going to pass it over.
Okay, I am Glenn Gwines. I'm the lead counselor at Katy High School. I'm a mover. I don't stand in one spot. I'm also the district lead counselor for the high school level, so I kind of have my hand in a lot of pots. So hopefully you like this presentation. This was everything I put together, and then it's just nice to have some help on the presentation part. I'm going to talk about GPA and class rank, and so I'll try not to be too long-winded. There are parts of this process that I really love. And as a school counselor, I would say like preparing kids for after high school really is my favorite part of the job. So, you know, when kids are like, I want to go to college, my parents did not go to college. I'm the oldest sibling. I don't know where to start. Excuse me. But like helping students with that along the way. So ultimately and these guys are gonna talk more about the college admission process in a minute, but ultimately when kids apply to colleges, they look at two things right off. Where do you rank in your class? What kind of test score do you have for ACT or SAT? So like Ms. Schmidt said, your class rank and your high school cumulative grade point average begins with any high school credit class that you take. So if you have an 8th grader or any of you had students that in 8th grade, they took Algebra 1, Spanish 1, a few electives, those classes start counting. And like she said, it is very important that those classes cannot be taken again. Once the credit is earned, it is earned, it's on the transcript, it's a done deal, it's like in stone. We have situations occasionally where parents do ask, like, oh, my kid didn't do so well in this class, can they retake it? No, they cannot. We just can't allow it. The one thing, though, that sometimes students and parents don't understand is that GPA and rank is based on semester averages. So if I have a kid in October that says, woo, first 6 weeks kind of got me and I wasn't really ready and I made a C, like, is my GPA ruined? Well, it's dinged, but it's not ruined. So no, like the 6 weeks, obviously it factors into the semester, but it's the semester average that is what is calculated into the GPA and class rank. Katy ISD does a weighted GPA. So basically students that take pre-AP and AP classes, those classes are weighted as a 5-point A. And so we're not gonna talk about exactly how to calculate GPA. We've already had that Parent Legacy Academy. But if you have questions about that, it is in the course catalog, page 32. And so it tells you very plainly, but a kid has a pre-AP class, they make an A for the semester, that's 5 points. It's that simple. A kid takes all pre-AP or AP classes as maybe a junior, and they get all A's, that's a 5 and a 5 and a 5, and divide by how many total classes, that's a 5.0 for the semester. So 5.0, like, oh my God, is that really possible? Yes, it is possible. And our top kids at all of our campuses will have a 5.0 semester a lot of times during 11th or 12th grade year. So just know, occasionally when you apply to college or apply to scholarships, they may specifically ask you, is this a weighted or an unweighted GPA and rank? We choose the weighted one always because it makes you look better, because it gives you those extra points. If a student has never taken any pre-AP or AP classes, then their weighted and their unweighted would be exactly the same, okay? First official class rank is determined during spring of junior year, and so then this is updated each subsequent semester. So obviously, like starting when those high school credit classes start, that's when the GPA and rank start, but students aren't given that information until later on. When you're looking at your rank, colleges will look at which 25% chunk that a student falls into. So when we say, like, they look at the percentile. So if you're number 200 out of 800, that's 25%. So that person, if they are exactly number 200 out of exactly 800 kids, that's pretty much the last person in the top 25%. And then we're gonna talk a little bit more later about like the ranking versus the test scores and how that balance works out. Okay, so a big question comes up every year, and I get this a lot from kids and parents wanting to know, like, should I take the ACT or should I take the SAT? And that really is it's a loaded question. And so to me, I don't really feel like I can answer this question completely for every individual student. The tests are similar in a lot of ways. The scoring is way different. And so you can see here on the scoring, a perfect ACT score is 36. Katy High School actually had a 36 this year. I got to tell you, it's the first one that like I think we've ever had since I've worked there, and I've been there for 12 years. But we got some smart kids this year. We got two 35s and several 34s. Like that's pretty ridiculous. That's really, really, really great. A perfect SAT score is 1600. So mistake. They can get 200 to 800 on each section. Total score is up to 1600. So a lot of times students want to know, well, what's average? An average ACT is about a 20, and an average SAT is around 1,000, right? Give or take a little bit. Okay, so if you've got an ACT that's up 30, that's pretty darn good. If you got an SAT that's 1,300, 1,400, that's pretty outstanding. So our top scores that we'll have will be up in the high 1,500 range, or we'll be up in that 34, 35, 36 range. Is that competitive? Oh my God, yes. And so depending on your campus, it's a tricky game. I know for us, with class rank especially, our top 10 kids are divided by hundredths of a point. Sometimes thousands of a point. Our valedictorian and salutatorian last year, number 1 and number 2, were literally 2,000ths of a point apart. 4.82 something and 4.82 something. I mean, literally 2,000ths of a point. And one got a full ride to Brown and one got a full ride to Rice. So number 2 ain't hurting either, okay? But if you're up there, like, that's pretty remarkable. Notice the differences, though, that there's an English, math, reading, and science on the ACT, and then on the SAT, there's a reading and writing combined score, and there's a math score. And so there's a little bit more information on this slide. This graphic, I think, is kind of cool because that's about as simple as you can get it. So a lot of times students will say, oh my God, I really stink at math. Which test should I take? Well, let's do a math lesson. Here, math is half your score. Here, math is 1/4 of your score. So if you stink at math, you should take the ACT, okay? I think, though, it's really important. I think kids should take both. I tell all of my students to take both. And the reason for that is because sometimes kids are just a little anomaly with, like, you think that they're going to score better on one than the other, and then they do exactly what you don't think that they will do. Research will tell you, though, that kids should test in the spring of their junior year. That's when they're most prepared. And then, I totally just lost my train of thought. But test in the spring of your junior year. Another question that we get a lot of times is, how many times can I or should I take it? Well, I can't really answer that either. There are 7 national test dates for both. There is no limit on how many times that you can take it. So a student can take it as many times as they want. I think it's probably smart to take it 2 at least. And just be ready. So research says that students that have taken honors level English classes and that like to read for fun, that are recreational readers, that those kids usually do better on the SAT. But like, look that stuff up, research it a little bit. I put some little things here, like if you prefer algebra, you would do better on SAT. If you prefer geometry or trigonometry, you would do better on ACT. This stuff is readily available. You can find it on ACT, SAT sites, or like on different blogs. That's where I got that information from. Like if you want to always have a calculator on the math, some people like that as a little crutch. But on that, like it tells you specifically that ACT would be better for that. On the ACT science, I hear a lot of students say, oh my God, I didn't know anything. Well, because on the science test, it's not like here's a chemical equation, like balance this equation. It's like here's a chart and here's a question, and based on this information, what would this outcome be if we did this in the chart or something like that. So a lot of times it's just a different way of thinking. But on that, like, just be prepared. But like I said here, when in doubt, take both. The colleges will take the higher. Some universities even do what they call a super score, where they will say, okay, say you take the test 3 times, and on ACT, the first time your English was higher, and the second time your math and science were higher, and on the third time your reading was higher, and they'll take the higher of all 3 and put it together for what they call a super score. Not every university does that, okay? Some universities do that. So just know that that is an option. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention, because this is your part, right, is like I hear a lot of times students, I'm gonna just get on a soapbox just for a second, that students will come in and they'll say, well, I need to send my scores to a school, okay, and that is on here that I kind of didn't really mention the second one there. So when you pay for these tests, you're already paying like 60-something bucks. Part of what you're paying for is for ACT or College Board to send those official score reports to the universities. So a lot of times I hear students say, well, I just want to take it for practice this time, and then I'll take it again later and send my test scores. That's really not very smart, in my opinion, because you've just wasted $60-something in about 5 hours of your life, okay? So to me, like, if you're taking the test, put some schools on there to get your scores. You're already paying for them to get the scores. If you're not happy with the score, you take the test again. What if you take the test once and you do better on the other one? You know, so anyway, just know that when it comes time for college applications, that's a big part of it, and they're going to talk about that in a minute, but that they have to have an official score report from ACT or SAT. You cannot send it. The student cannot send it, the parent cannot send it, we cannot send it from the school, our registrars cannot send it on the transcript. It must come from ACT or SAT. So if a student signs up and they take the ACT in April, because we've got a test coming up in about 3 weeks, and they didn't put any schools on there, and then they apply to college in the fall, and then they've now decided that there are 5 universities that they're gonna apply to, they then have to go in and pay ACT, I think it's $13 for every single school to get that official score report. Well, that's 65 bucks, which you just paid for the test. So you get 4. If you want it sent to more, they charge you more. And then we've got kids sometimes that apply to a more than 4 or 5 schools. Well, if that's the case, then you're gonna have to pay the additional fee. But my point being, like, you're already paying to take the test, and a big part of it is to send the scores, so put the scores on there. Another part, and this is a real soapbox moment, is please make your kids do their own stuff. Like, I can't tell you how many times that a kid is in my office, well, I need to send my scores, and I don't know the login to log into my ACT account because my parents did it. Well, I'm all for parents helping their kids, but please teach your kids some responsibility and some ownership in this. When I read an essay for a scholarship, I do not want it to sound like it came from a 50-year-old person, and I can tell. Okay, I mean it. And so like I looked at an application the other day, not to diss on young men, but y'all know we don't write as well as women do. This was a beautifully handwritten application for a boy that's really smart, but I know that's not his handwriting. I know it's not. So I'm telling you, help your kid with their stuff. Please don't do their work for them. Like when it comes to all of their application stuff, their essays, asking for help, their registration, their applications, please do not do the work for them. Let them do the work, and you help them along the way. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Chandra Kaiser, and I'm the lead counselor at Morton Ranch High School. And what I will be discussing with you is choosing a school. Now, choosing a school, I will first like to say that sometimes the parents' perception of the school and the students' perception you're on 2 different wavelengths, okay? Sometimes what they are thinking, what they are wanting to do, and where they want to go is totally different on another spectrum, another planet than what you were thinking. So when you're, what Ms. Schmidt and Glenn had talked about as well, that speaking with your child early, it's never too early to start talking about college. In junior high, it's never too early to start talking about it. And so dream school versus reality school. Okay, this is really when, when we're sitting down talking to our students is where the disconnect is. We're talking to them their junior year, let's narrow some things down because we really want them to start thinking about now maybe 5 to 7 schools and start narrowing it down after their junior year to 3 schools, okay? Because college applications are very expensive, okay? They start charging you per applications and $55, $65, it adds up. Okay, and especially for a school that you know that you're really not, unless they come back with an awesome financial aid package, you're probably not going to let them go. Or let's say it's in New York. You're like, you know what, I don't want you to go that far. So you may want to narrow that kind of down, let them know now, your expectations, so maybe y'all can come to a common agreement of what is the reality. Okay, dream school. Always pick a dream school for your student. The student pick a dream school as far as this has everything, all the checks, all the boxes that they want. And then the reality school, one that you know that you can definitely get in. Okay, so because sometimes I know, I think 2 years ago, one of my students was valedictorian, and they did not get into a university. And I was shocked because I was like, well, what are they looking for? And it was, sometimes you just don't know what the university is looking for and what kind of makeup they're looking for. So sometimes it's good to have dream school and reality school because sometimes hurt feelings happen, and it's very hard when the kid gets that letter that's not full and it's really thin. It's very disappointing. And they've worked all these years to lead up to this point to open a letter, and you've been waitlisted or you haven't gotten in. And so it's very important to at least apply to 3 to 5 schools and dream versus reality. Does it have your major? Okay, maybe you're in a particular profession and you've done very well for yourself and your family, but maybe your child doesn't want to go into that profession. So it's very important as far as they're looking at a major, to choose a major that they actually could see themselves doing as a career. And as we know, there's more and more careers coming out every day and every year that some of the careers that are out now we couldn't even choose that major when we were in college. And so, and some universities have gotten very savvy where they've combined different majors and they've created their own major. So there's a lot of different techniques that college has changed since we were in school. And sometimes your student knows a lot more than you know, especially with the internet, to how to navigate these areas. So it's very important as far as does it have the major they want. And sometimes there's a lot more universities that are offering the 5-year program where they're going somewhere for a law degree or something like that, and they can do it in less time depending on the university they go to and save a lot more money. So that's very important to gauge that as well. Also the fits. The academic fit. Does it fit their academic needs? Can they go for a semester in Spain or a year in Spain as a part of the curriculum? Is that something that they want to have that international experience? Personal fit. Does it have, let's say, they really played a lot of lacrosse or they played wrestling or wrestled. And let's say that you're like, you know what, you're going to go on academic scholarship. I really don't want you to play a sport, but do they have those, what is it called? Intramural sports, okay? And they compete as well. So that kind of gives them that middle ground as far as you're not at the liberty of the university where you have to play and your scholarship depends on you playing. You could do intramural. Also, social fit. Do they need a particular type of organization that they advocate for that they think is important? But your student is the one that needs to determine what is the type of college that they are looking for. Size of the school. Do you think that they are wanting to go to a small school or a big school? Okay, all-girls school, all-boys school, a co-ed school, a Catholic school. There's a lot of different kinds of universities and colleges out there. Do they need to start off at a community college and transfer into a major university? There's different types of a lot of different college universities that are available to your student. And so I'd strongly recommend that your student know that they have so many options available to them and make a choice and just know they're young and you can always transfer and make another decision later. It's not the death of them if they go somewhere like, you know what, I really wanted to go to University of Pittsburgh, okay, but they didn't give you enough money to go. Okay, but you know what? Right up the street, they have the same major, and you almost have a full ride there. At the end of the day, you got the degree when you got out. You got out in the time you're supposed to get out, and you get the same career that you had planned on doing with your life. And so, we can think that way, but sometimes they may need assistance with navigating the bigger picture. Distance from home. Sometimes kids are like, I want to get as far away from Katy, Texas as possible, okay? And you're like, okay, okay, that's fine. But You know, some of you all know that you don't want your child to go that far. So have those serious conversations with your student and explain to them, you know, this is why. You know, because if you're going out of state, that's a plane ticket. Okay, not just one plane ticket, getting there and back. That's 2, then Christmas, then Thanksgiving, okay, summer, and that adds up, okay? Or you need a car. Oh, I'm not letting you take your car. Okay, so how are they going to get around? How are they going to get to the store? Are they going to have to walk? Are they in the snow? You know, there's a lot of different things they don't think about. They just want to go. So it's very important to the distance from home. And sometimes I realize, oh, mom and dad, they can't do my laundry anymore. And so you'll learn real quick, you know, about laundry, and you want to come home, but you are so many thousand miles away, and that doesn't happen. So it's very important to talk about the distance and what you're comfortable with, and financial concerns. Of course, scholarships are important in having full rides and money available to them, but also there's work study. There's different kinds of options available to different universities that they may give a package to your student. And so, but financial concerns, let's say this is your first child going off to college. Or maybe it's your last. Or maybe it was your oopsie, and you're like, oh, wow, this is a whole new world. And so I have no idea what I'm doing again. And so no matter where you are with your financial planning, and you may have not started soon enough in the financial planning, just know there's money out there, and there's a lot of unclaimed money that goes every year because no one applies because some kids think that they won't get it. Okay? All they can tell you is no. Okay? So it's very important to express those concerns with your significant other and with your child as far as this is the parameters, and help them navigate through that parameter. Okay, applying to college. These two websites, applytexas.org and commonapp.org, are typically the two websites we usually use for kids to apply to, as well as applying to the specific college or university. Because some colleges want you to go to their specific sites and apply on their site. Now, of course, for Texas public schools, we have Apply Texas. You know, everything is bigger and better in Texas, so they have their own website for that, for Texas public schools. And then for private schools, most of them, out of state and in state, they will be on the Common App. What we see on the counselor side is when the student goes in and logs in and have their own account. That's why it's very important, what Glenn said, is that sometimes students come into our offices and they have no idea how to get into their accounts. And we're trying to assist your child, and they have to text you or call you at work and get that information. And when they get to college, you have to realize that if you call the college, they'll tell you that, oh, because of FERPA laws, I'm not able to share any information with you. You're like, well, no, I paid the bill. You know, I pay for everything for that child at the school. You need to tell me how they're doing. They can't tell you anything, okay, unless there's a box that's checked, and sometimes they don't check the box. But anyway, just know that now's the time to start teaching them and letting them know what the expectation is, as well as making them responsible for their own, knowing their social security number, knowing their logins for these types of websites, because when we're talking to them, it's very important for them to have that information. Now, when they're doing it, make sure they pace themselves, because sometimes they want to do really quick and they may miss something, a requirement or something of that nature. So I would recommend, I think they would as well, is in the summer, going to their senior year, start applying to the colleges that they're wanting, because a lot of the applications are very similar, the same type of essay. And so just as long as they change the essays, because sometimes they forget to change the name, you know, make sure you kind of proofread that, because sometimes they just cut and paste and they leave in certain things in there that doesn't apply to that particular school. Also, keep a copy of the submission. Things happen. It is the World Wide Web. Things can get lost, and you know your child submitted it. Just have a copy of it just in case for a rainy day if you need to look at it and resubmit it. Complete all required and suggested essays. Required means what? It's required, okay? It means it's non-negotiable. So if it says required and you wonder why your child didn't get into that university, it's because they did not do or complete their required essay. Suggested essay, we even say if it says suggested, that means someone's going to be looking at that, so that's why it's there. It says suggested. If it doesn't say no essay needed, then therefore they don't have to worry about it, okay? But if it says required, suggested, we strongly recommend that your student fill those essays out. They'll speak further about essays later on with the college advice people. Request a transcript from the high school registrar. This year especially, it's become very nice and easy at your fingertips through Naviance. They can go in there and just request a transcript, and it'll be sent to the college or university that the student is applying to. So it's very easy now for students in Katy ISD to apply using that program that's free to them to use to request a transcript from there. Also, I think Glenn already mentioned about send the ACT and ACT scores. If you haven't already done that, make sure that they do that, because that will hold up your admissions to that university if not all of those boxes are checked, because your application is not complete. Check your online status. All colleges and universities, once you log into their portal, they can look at their account and it'll tell them what is missing. Okay, it'll tell them if their transcript is not there. It will tell them if their recommendation letter from their counselor or their teacher or whoever they wanted to send that recommendation letter, if it's not there, if the box is not checked. Because if it's not all checked and it's not a green light, that means that your status is not complete and they will not start reviewing the application. Try to apply by Thanksgiving, okay? Sometimes we move it up a little bit. We say before you trick or treat, you must complete. That's around, Halloween. But sometimes they want to push it till Thanksgiving. That's fine. But make sure they apply by then, because there's a lot of deadlines for scholarships are November 1st. So Thanksgiving actually will be kind of late. That's why I like to tell them by Halloween to apply. And of course, we already mentioned about apply for housing. Now, this is just an example of our Cougars, University of Houston, automatic admissions. Sometimes parents are like, you have to be in the top whatever to get into college or university. This is just a way of looking at all colleges and universities on their websites. They will have this information where, for instance, at U of H, if they're in the top 10% of their class, then there's no minimum ACT or no minimum SAT score. Okay? Of course, there's some other universities, the Longhorns is the top 6%. Some people, it's less than that, In the top 11 to 25%, they need a 21 on their ACT and a 1080 on their SAT. Now, we're showing this to let you know, as far as whatever your child's class rank is, you're going to divide that by the total number of students in that class, and you multiply it, and that's their percentage as far as how to determine what percentage they're in. Okay? And so they're like, what percentage am I in? Because some kids think they're in the top 25%, but they may be in the top 26%. Okay? So just know that it's very simple for them to figure out where they are in the percentage of their classes a quarter, because that's what colleges are looking at to determine if they're going to admit you to their university. Okay, and also the priority scholarship deadline. It's very, very, very important to give your child the best option of getting the most money as possible. That priority deadline is exactly what that is, the priority, because the early bird gets the worm as well as the money, okay? And so November 15th, okay, that is the priority deadline. Now, regular admission deadline, as you can see, is June 7th. By that time, who knows how much money is available for them if they wait till that deadline to apply. That is really, really, really late. I mean, I would not recommend that at all. And then the $75 application fee. So that, that's 75, there's 65, there's 50, there's 45. So as you can see, it adds up. So it's very important that you speak to your student and that they narrow things down by the end of their junior year of where they're going to apply to, so that you can save a little money, because it'll be good if you can save a little money in the process. Now I'm going to move on to one of our college advisors, Mr. Langford. He's going to go more in detail with some other typical universities in the state of Texas that students apply to.
All right, hi guys. My name is Thomas Langford, and I am the college advisor at Morton Ranch High School. And this is Zachary Lawrence. He's at Maid Creek High School. And give a quick rundown to kind of explain our position, because it's sometimes misconceptions. We are Advise Texas College Advisors, and what that means is we are members of AmeriCorps, who we're employed by Texas A&M University. That's why this is the slide we came up on. And trained by A&M, come to certain high schools. Unfortunately, KDIC only has 2 high schools with Advise Texas people, Morton Ranch and Maid Creek. And our job, while we're technically not KDIC employees, we make the students think that is the case, because I don't want any student to think I'm pushing them to A&M. That's not our job. Our job is to find their best fit. Whether it's UT Austin, whether it's out of state, it doesn't matter. That's what we're here to do. So, quick rundown. So we talked about U of H, A&M, pretty much any school your child has in mind, search up Texas A&M University Assured Admissions, Texas Tech Assured Admissions. The first link is going to take you directly to their website, and it's going to tell you what the rank is that they need, what the SAT or the ACT is. And what's really important about knowing this is, for example, last semester, at the beginning of the semester, I have a student who really wants to go to Texas State. Her rank, she's at the 26th percentile, almost on the cusp of that top quartile. So I tell her, hey, their deadline is next semester. So if you can do really good in class, you can bump yourself up to that 25% and totally change how they view your application. And then we're just a couple other schools that are pretty popular for students.
One thing I want to add for automatic admissions, sorry, my voice is kind of scratchy today. For automatic admissions, just because you're automatically admitted does not mean your student's going to get the major they want. So if you want to go to UT and be in aerospace engineering, you still need to take your applications very seriously, especially when it comes to applying early. For example, I know a student one time was number 7 in a class of about 600 students. He applied the day the application was due, and he did not get the major he wanted because sometimes they fill up majors early. So please encourage your students, especially if they're high achievers, to still apply early and take their admissions process as seriously as possible, okay? That also goes into essays as well, which is our next slide. Oh, sorry, that's not our next slide. That's Texas State as well. Okay, essays. Dues. Keep it narrow and keep it personal. This is your chance to open up to the admissions counselor and tell them more about yourself and who you are and why they should pick you. You know, whenever it says prove it up here and provide examples, if you say, you know, I suffered through adversity, don't just say I suffered through adversity, let me in. Give them specific examples of why and how you suffered through adversity. And then be creative, you know, don't be the standard admissions essays. Try to think outside the box. Think of something that's gonna, you know, excite the person that's reading it, because I guarantee you, you know, these admissions advisors, they're pouring over hundreds of applications. So try to stand out. And definitely seek the help of others when it comes to, speak with others when it comes to finding out more about what adversities you've covered. I would also encourage your students to write multiple drafts of your essays. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna try again. No, I'm good. I'm good now, promise. Okay. Don't try to be, you know, something that you're not. Be authentic with your essays. Be truthful as to who you are. Don't tell them what you think they want you to hear. You know, this is your chance to, you know, like I said, go out of, think outside the box. So if you try to tell them what they want to hear, you're going to sound like every other essay. So take it seriously. Your resume is something that they also look at as well. Your resume is kind of a quick overview of who you are. You don't want to rewrite your resume. You want to go more in depth about who you are, be more specific, make yourself stand out. Again, like we said, don't let your parents write your essays. This needs to be you, so that way, you know, it's your authentic essay. And definitely proofread. I would encourage you to have it looked at by multiple people, definitely your English teachers if at all possible, and, you know, someone else as well, so that way you have multiple eyes looking at it so you can rewrite it if you need to as well. The prompts are available on the websites for Apply Texas and the Common App. Those usually go up in spring of your junior year, so if your students are juniors, get them to go on their website right now and find the essays. You can start writing them now as a junior, and that way, if you have it done in the summertime, you're ready to go in the fall whenever the applications open up. Again, like I said, applying early, say if you applied August 1st, the day it was due, increases your chance of admission, so make sure you're doing that as well.
All right, so I'm going to talk about letters of recommendation applying to colleges. So a lot of colleges actually they either don't require them or it's an optional thing. If it's optional, I typically suggest it. Anything that says optional along the college process, to give yourself a better chance, go ahead and do it. It can only help you. There are some schools, though, that do require that letter of recommendation. There are some bare minimums to it about how early you ask. We say at least 2 weeks, to be honest. Ask earlier than that, and then every week or two kind of give a heads-up friendly reminder, because these teachers or coaches that they're asking are very busy, and a friendly reminder every now and then isn't a bad idea. Asking them personally and making sure you actually the student has the relationship with that person, because that's someone who their job is to write all about them, about who they are, what they know about them, and the experiences they've shared together in the classroom or on the field, whatever the relationship is. Asking a teacher who you don't really know that well, not a great idea. I typically suggest students maybe look at those junior year teachers because they've known them for a full year, whereas the senior year, they haven't had a whole lot of time to get to know your child. So that's something to keep in mind. Giving the person, the recommender, a resume or questionnaire, something like that, providing them a little bit of information that they can work off of to write about, letting them know the school it's for, the program they're applying to, because they don't want to talk about how great you are in math class if you're trying to be a liberal arts major. Factor in the breaks coming up, know who you are as a person, and it's easy to tell if the letter of recommendation is written by someone who genuinely knows and cares about this child, or it's just another person who asked them and they don't know them that well. They're still going to do their best job to write an honest and truthful letter of recommendation, but if the student asks for the letter of rec 2 days before, the letter of rec probably will mention, hey, they asked me 2 days before, and that doesn't look so good. And writing thank you notes, that's a little old-fashioned, but it's greatly appreciated that you do something like that. So let them know, hey, I know you didn't have to do this for me. You took time out of your day. It's simple things like that. And then they'll end up doing something else for you down the line if needed.
Okay, financial aid, everyone's favorite subject. So with this, the first thing I want to encourage y'all to do is make sure you do the FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Basically, it makes you eligible for all types of grants, most of your scholarships, and your loans as well if you want to get those. So it will open up October 1st of your student's senior year. Please, please, please apply as early as possible because it increases your odds of getting grants and funding as well. There are the specific grants you can get from the FAFSA. The big one is called the Pell Grant. And that one's about $6,000 depending on your level of income. But there's also other grants that go and coincide with that as well that only come from the FAFSA, and the way you get those is being first in line. There is a limited amount of funding when it comes to some of these grants, and it's first come, first serve. So please be first in line for that. But basically what the FAFSA does, it takes your level of income from the parents, subtracts the student's cost of attendance, and they get a number from that and determine how much of a grant you may be eligible for. So just make sure you're doing that. Scholarships, Thomas is going to go into a little bit more detail about that. Just make sure you're applying for all the opportunities you can, but scholarships are merit-based most of the time. Sometimes they can be based off of finances too, but just make sure whenever you're applying to scholarships, you look at all the eligibility requirements before you spend time applying. Grants are all going to be need-based. They do require information from your FAFSA. Like I said earlier, there are some grants that come specifically from the FAFSA. There are some that are outside the FAFSA as well. Those you can usually find. There's going to be some resources at the end of the slideshow that have some search tools on there to find scholarships and grants as well. So check those out also. Loans, these are neither need-based nor merit-based. Most of you can apply for them. And I know no one wants to get a loan whenever it comes to their first year, but the best possible loans you can get are going to be from your FAFSA. So even if you think, you know what, we make way too much money, there's no way we're going to get any funding from the FAFSA, still do it because it'll make you eligible for more scholarships, and also those loans as well are the best possible options for loans. So please consider those as well. And then work study is going to be an option for you. You also have to fill out the FAFSA in order to be eligible for that. Basically, it's a part-time job while you are at the university you're going to, and they pay you, like as a monthly paycheck typically, so you earn hourly wages with that. It's also a great way for you to get experience, to learn more about maybe a job you want to go into later on too. So if your student wants to learn more about that, a work study can also be a good option also. One thing we don't have on here is the TASFA. That is the Texas Application for State Aid. Now with that, that's going to be for any students that are not United States citizens, but they're Texas residents, so they would have lived here for at least 3 years prior to going to college. That one, you'd only want to do, again, like I said, if you are not considered a citizen, or if you're on DACA or something like that. But it is a paper application, but that's also available as well. You can only do one or the other. If you can do the FAFSA, please do your FAFSA, but if that's not an option, look into the TASFA as well. And Thomas, you have anything to add?
One thing I've run into is for the FAFSA, students will say, well, my parents make too much money. They told me don't fill it out. There's no reason to. They're not going to give me any money. The problem with that is there are scholarships out there that require that FAFSA to be completed that there are other programs within the school that require that. So even if you think that's your family situation, still get it done, because there may be something along the line that requires that FAFSA to be completed. So keep that in mind. And he touched on a little bit with the work study. If your student ends up looking to that, I tell the student, definitely do that job on campus that freshman or sophomore year. Campuses don't want to hire juniors and seniors because they know they're out of here in a year or two. They want people who are there for several years on campus, and get a job, any job, in the building that they want to be studying in or whatever. Because if they want to be an engineer, if you're working at the front desk at the College of Engineering, you're seeing those professors around all the time who are going to really determine your future the last couple years of college. So get around the people who are going to help make differences in your future. All right, so talking about scholarships, how to win them. Number one is applying. 90% of winning is showing up. There's scholarships out there, which even if it's for only a couple $100s, 10 people can win it, 7 people submit it. Everyone who submitted is gonna win it. So the more they submit applications to scholarships, the more likely they are gonna win them. Either they have a great application for the scholarship, or they're just one of the few people who actually did it. There are so many scholarships out there. The good thing is that that's a lot of opportunities. The hard thing is that it's sometimes hard to find the ones you can actually fill out, because you'll get halfway through reading it and realize it says something to the effect of you have to be in Fort Bend ISD, and then can't fill it out. So the scholarship process can be a tedious process, but it's definitely worth it because that money can be so important. Getting on mailing lists. One thing I want to say about that, have your student create a separate email strictly for the college process. Because if you guys have any students who have already gone through all of this, emails get blown up from colleges and scholarships and all of things like that, and it kind of ruins your email address because it becomes junk mail. So a second email account for the whole college process is something to think about. Talk to the university reps. Every university has college reps assigned to certain locations. Whether it's University of Houston or a school way out in Oregon, they have someone in their department assigned to the Houston area. And that person's job is to help Houston area students applying to their college. And talking about the universities, there are 2 types of scholarships. There's the university scholarships, and then there's the outside scholarships. The outside scholarships, that's your Houston Rodeo, your Ronald McDonald, all of these types of scholarships. Those, there's a lot more of them, but they're a little bit harder to find. Whereas if a student says, I know I want to go to Texas A&M University, I tell them, okay, you do the scholarship application through the Texas A&M website. There's a lot of those scholarships there, only for A&M students. And those scholarships have deadlines. And typically they're over the winter time, due around December. So Texas State, deadline's March 1st, but their freshman scholarship deadline was in December. So you can still be auto admit #1 in your class, want to go to Texas State, but they're not going to give you any scholarships because you waited too long to fill it out. Talking about extracurriculars, involvement, I tell students I would much rather you be in 1 or 2 organizations that you stay in for several years, you take leadership positions in, and you do some real growth in, as opposed to just joining everything and just checking boxes as a general member. Because that, being a general member for a bunch of organizations isn't that impressive. Because anyone can join the table tennis club and just show up once every 2 weeks. Become the president of the club, things like that. Looking at complete well-rounded. So straight A's, no involvement, no volunteer, things like that. There's all different types of ways to be well-rounded, and just what they're looking for is someone who's going to come to their campus and make it a better place. That they're going to get involved, that they're going to do volunteer hours at their school, and they're going to say, this is a student we're proud to show to other people, that we're glad we have and that other school down the road doesn't have. Volunteer hours, that's something, you can talk to your counselors about that, different opportunities, anything they do outside of the classroom. It can be volunteer opportunities not associated with the high school, but with local religious affiliation or nursing home, whatever it is. There are so many different opportunities. Looking at the scholarship applications, the recommendations come into that. Some scholarships are going to ask for it. and have your students look at the requirements for the scholarship as soon as possible when they start applying for it. Because it may say, we want an unofficial letter of recommendation, and they're filling this out the day it's due. Well, they already left school. They're thinking, I'm going to turn this in online by midnight tonight. Well, they can't get their hands on that letter of recommendation anymore because they've already left school. So knowing what's due and getting it done ahead of time is going to save a lot of headache.
Wait. I have one thing I wanted to add really quick to scholarships. So with the scholarships, make sure you look local a lot of times because you're gonna have a better shot of winning those kind of scholarships. So, usually go talk to your counselor, or if you have a college advisor at your school, go talk to them. They'll usually have, a good knowledge of what your local scholarships are gonna be. So please apply for those. Also, scholarships usually require your students to write essays, which is usually the biggest barrier when it comes to them applying. I encourage all your students to save every single essay they write when it comes to admissions and scholarship applications. Save it on a Google Doc or something like that so they can reuse those, because you're going to see as you do more scholarship apps, there's a lot of similar essay prompts. So if you save that and your students have them written, they can just copy and paste them. So do yourself and your students a favor, please. One other resource for financial aid I forgot to mention earlier is going to be for people that were in the military. So there are things like the Hazelwood Act, which covers all of your tuition. So if your parents were in the military at the time of their service, they were either a Texas resident or they were stationed in Texas, they could possibly get their entire tuition paid for. And this goes for every single branch of the military. So if your student, if you're a parent of a student and you were in the military, please talk to your area recruiter to find out more about what your options are. And so that goes to every branch. It also includes the Coast Guard as well. So talk with them, find out what your options are, make sure you don't miss out on that funding, okay?
I just want to add one thing about scholarships too. From a counselor perspective, where he mentioned give 2 weeks at least. Every year I have a kid or two that really tries my patience by coming in maybe on a Wednesday and saying, hey, can you write me a letter of recommendation? I need it by Friday. I will tell you very politely, I will not do it. I'm just going to tell y'all. I mean, it's very important to be respectful of our time, those teachers, those coaches, your youth pastor, like any of those people, be respectful of their time. I also want to mention how important it is for your kids and for you to teach your kids to advocate for themselves. Let me tell you a true story that's just happened. I have a kid right now at Katy High School that's, I think, number 6 in the class, super smart, way high ACT and SAT scores, and he applied to U of H. And so he applied to some bigger schools too, or higher echelon school, whatever. So while he's waiting to hear from Rice, those kind of schools, he applied to U of H. He applied by their priority deadline by the skin of his teeth, and he knows that. And so then he was admitted, of course, because he's in the top 10%. However, they told him that he did not qualify for any scholarship money. This is a kid that I thought surely would get a full ride to U of H, not just a little academic money. So this student, though, so I talked to him and I said, I don't think something's right. So I think you need to contact them. Call him up and say, why didn't I get this money? Because I feel like I should. And he did. And so he forwarded me the email. I literally got it 2 days ago. So he got the email last week while he was on spring break. And so he emailed his admissions contact person and said, hey, just checking, but I submitted my stuff on time. Can you check into this and make sure that something didn't get missed? So they replied back to him and said that he submitted his application on time, but he didn't submit his test scores on time. Remember how we talked about the test score having to be sent automatically from College Board or ACT? Well, then he replies back to them and said, yeah, I did. Here it is. And so he had screenshots of stuff. He had emails from them. He had it all covered. So he replies back and said, yeah, I did. Because it said the priority scholarship deadline was November 15th, but that you had until November 20th to submit those supporting documents. They got his score on the 19th, true story. And so then they replied back and said, you're right, sorry for the miscommunication, we've reevaluated, you qualify for the Academic Excellence Scholarship, you're getting X amount of money a year. If that kid hadn't asked, he wouldn't have gotten that money. So I'm telling you, that part's important. And to know, some may say, you get this test score, you get this money, period. So just, oh, okay. Yeah, so just know, like, there are some automatic ones that if you're a certain test score, you will automatically get that. If your kid's a national merit semifinalist, there's some universities that if you're national merit, you're a full ride. So, like, a full ride is a pretty serious thing. I know a lot of times students think, well, my grandpa went to A&M, my dad went to A&M, I have to go to A&M. But U of H has offered me a full ride, and Texas State's offered me a full ride. I'm telling you, you can't disregard that money.
One thing I want to add also when it comes to communicating to your schools, especially with financial aid, if, say, you do your FAFSA, because you have to do your FAFSA with 2 years prior information for your finances, if your income changes, say, one of your parents, they lose their job or something like that, and your income changes drastically, you have to do something called a financial aid appeal with the school so you can prove to them, like, look, I know my FAFSA said I was making 6 figures, but now we're making, half that. You have to go and tell it to the schools. If they don't know that, they can't help out with that. And I actually had a student last year who had to do that, and she ended up coming back with a lot more scholarship money. So just make sure you're communicating with your universities as well.
Yeah, that's another good point. She said to mention if the parents are divorced. So when you fill out your FAFSA, be ready. It's pretty invasive. So it is. I'm not gonna lie. Who lives in your house? Who pays the bills? Are mom and dad married? Are they divorced? If they're divorced, are they remarried? Who's in the house? How many kids are there? How many of those kids are college age kids? How much do you make? How much do you make? How much do you make? And so all of that factors in. So the big piece of that is who, wherever the kid is claimed on income tax is the person that, the big part. So a lot of times they may think, well, my mom makes a third of what my dad makes, so we're gonna claim it on there. Well, it's not that easy because they really do ask for all of it. Another thing, and I know they mentioned on this too, and I like to tell kids and students this story because this is really true. When I was a senior in high school, 20 however many years ago, because like we said, you have to apply to win. My mom was a nurse. She worked at a hospital that was a national corporation hospital. There was a scholarship through her company, through her hospital. And so she was like, well, you should apply to this. You'll never know. I grew up in a town like the size of this room. I'm not even kidding. And so I thought, that's a national scholarship. There's no way I'm going to win that. And I worked part-time, and I was president of a club. I was busy. I was involved. And so my mom said, sit down. I worked one night until 10 o'clock. I get home, it's 10:30, and I was exhausted. And she was like, okay, we got to get it done. You got to finish it today. So she sat at the table, and I cried like a little baby because I just was ready to go to sleep. And she said, do the work. Do it right now. She didn't do it for me. She sat with me and made me do it. And I won that scholarship. And guess what? It paid my full tuition for 4 years. I'm not lying to y'all. Full tuition for 4 years. So, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm telling you, tell your kids they cannot win if they don't apply. Okay, so now let's open it up for a few questions. And then the goal is to be completely shut down and walking out at 7:30. Okay, so questions? Yes, ma'am. Right. The question was about the transcript getting to the university. So when you apply for admission, the transcript must be official, which means it must come from the school. So if a school is a Navient school, then you do the request through Navient, the student does the request through Navient, and then our registrars either send it through Navient or they send it through whichever means that college will take it. Correct. Don't think that you're going to be able to sit down and do everything for a college application in one sitting. Yeah. I had one other thing that Chandra said I should mention. I mentioned national merit a minute ago. I don't know if everybody in this room knows what that is. So on your 11th grade year, when students are in 11th grade and they take the PSAT in October, there's a score cutoff. So the way that it works is it's based by state on that day. And so it's top 2% of all of the test takers in that state qualify for a certain mark that's a national merit semifinalist. When you're a semifinalist, that means that you get an invitation that tells you that you have made this qualifying score, and then you fill out this application. and then that opens you up for some scholarship opportunities. There's then another step, and then where you can go from a semifinalist into a finalist. Some colleges will say, if you are a national merit finalist, you get full tuition, period. Now, we're talking really high test scores, where a score on SAT would be like up to 1,600 to get you national merit. We're talking about like 750. I mean, it's like top 2% of everybody that takes the test. So there are not a lot of kids that get that, but there are some. There are also some special scholarship programs that are based on national merit also. Like I know I've gotten information like my dad works for such and such engineering company. They sponsor a special national merit program. And so we will get that invitation. Then we have to do part. The student gets their invitation. They do their part. And so like I've had kids win plenty of those before, and where they weren't necessarily a semifinalist, but they were a higher achieving score. And so just know that that's a possibility too. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I heard that for FAFSA, do you have to be citizens to apply for FAFSA? Or you could be legal immigrants too, and you can
As long
still
as they have a social security number, they
Okay.
can fill out the FAFSA.
apply?
Yes.
you.
Yeah, the question was ACT, is it the most recent score or the best score? The colleges will always take the best score. Yeah. Exactly. For sure. But I mean, if you got a ridiculously high score in 7th grade, it's going to be even higher in high school, so yes.
Are the dual credit classes going to be weighted at 4.5 in the future?
Good question. I meant to tell this one, so I'm glad you reminded me. So we talked about GPA and class rank and the weighted GPA. It did pass in KDISD that starting with this current year's 9th graders, that dual credit classes will be weighted on a 4.5 scale. So that's been a big discussion, a big debate every year, because yes, it is more work than an academic class, but it's maybe not as hard as an AP class. So yes, starting with this year's 9th graders, it'll be a 4.5.
If you didn't put that they should send their transcripts to the school, can you change that before the exam?
You mean the test scores?
Yes.
Sometimes it depends on how close to the test date. So like say there's an ACT on April 13th. If you didn't put any scores on there, you probably could still do it now. I really don't want to lie to you. I think until the test happens, you can still add it, but I don't know when the absolute cutoff is. But they're going to charge you more probably to do it.
Okay, so should I go back onto the website?
I would try, because the worst that can happen is that you're still going to have to pay that additional fee. Yep, go.
What impact does it have if your child decides he wants to take a gap year between senior and college?
That's a loaded question too, I think, because I will be completely honest with you. From my experience, when kids talk about a gap year, that turns into them not going to school. So I'm not trying to say like if that's your kid's specific situation that is what will happen or would probably happen. But to me, what I know happens a lot of times with a lot of students, not all of course, is that they don't know what they want to do. I will tell you, the minute I walked out of high school, I did not know this is where I wanted to stand 30 years later. So I think that's what happens, and it freaks kids out, especially when they're good students, because everybody thinks they should go to college, and everybody thinks they should do this or have that degree or that sort of thing. So to me, they still have to apply. They still have to go through all the motions. The process is a tiny bit different because you don't have the high school connection anymore. You still have to prove that you've graduated from high school, send your transcripts, send your test scores and all of that. But overall, I really don't know that that their application would be viewed any differently versus a graduating high school senior. The rules are all different for Brigham Young for those missions.
And one thing I will add as well with that is it does depend on what the student does during the gap year in many situations. So if they are off doing volunteer service, then that is looked upon very favorably. If they're at home laying on the couch playing Fortnite or whatever, that's not going to go quite so well. So we've got one.
This is a very, very, very debatable question. So basically, I'm not going to dog any schools because that is not what I'm here for. Are things more competitive at Seven Lakes than they are at Katy? Yes. Nobody in this room knows any differently. That's a fact. And so when it comes to those top 10%, top 6%, whatever, like they look at how your individual kid compares to his classmates. So yes, a kid may have a 4.5 that puts them in the top 10% at Katy, but it does not put them in the top 10% at Seven Lakes. They basically are compared to their classmates at their school. Yes.
Does each school have like someone to talk about the Hazelwood Act? Would each school have someone dedicated for veterans possibly?
That's a good question. I would tell you, if you were asking me at Katy High School, I would direct you to talk to someone military because I know what it is and I know that it's a great opportunity, but I don't.
Could I use financial aid and then the Hazelwood? Will you know something like
Yeah. So
the scholarships too?
So basically, like if you were in the military and you didn't use the money for your own schooling or whatever, then your kids can use it. But yeah, they can use that along with financial aid.
Yeah, and most universities usually have a Veterans Resource Center you can reach out to also. I know UT and A&M have those resources, so you can go talk with them. And their sole purpose is to find every resource available to you. So if Hazelwood Act is available to you, they'll make sure they get you set up for that application and make sure it's taken care of. And then there might be other resources you have as well when it goes to that also.
The Hazelwood Act, very simple. I got the Hazelwood Act to Texas A&M myself. A very quick and easy process. So most schools are going to be just like that for whatever the process is. Very simple and straightforward.
What I was wondering about is which classes the kids should take, pre-AP versus academic. If they're at a harder school, sometimes those pre-AP classes are so hard that they're not going to be guaranteed to get an A or a B. You just don't know. Is it better to have the harder class, and we've heard that a lot of the engineering or STEM fields want to see that they can be successful in pre-AP or AP courses and get the lower grade, or is it better to have the higher class rank and GPA?
Okay, well, I think that's a loaded question too. And so I don't really know a clear answer to that because a lot of times when it comes to college admissions, they look at where do you rank and what kind of test score do you have. So if a kid takes a pre-AP and makes a C versus takes an academic and makes an A, that academic A is going to be a higher ranked kid than that pre-AP C. Now, in the big scheme of things, yes, some of those colleges do want to see that. If the kids meet those automatic admission requirements, like those examples that were given up here, they don't dig further. Those bottom lines, though, that said individual review, that's where they dig further. And so that's where they may say, we need a letter of recommendation from a teacher or a counselor. We need an additional essay. We look at, this kid didn't take any pre-AP or AP, and this kid took 12 pre-APs and 4 APs. Well, if you got a 3.0 kid that had 12 pre-APs and 4 APs and a 3.0 kid that didn't have any, that's a no-brainer. And so some colleges are going to factor that kind of stuff in, but ultimately right off the top, they're looking at those two things. And then if they get in based on their rank or test score, then they don't really have to look further. Otherwise, they do.
then that may not be the best fit for them. If they're really, really struggling and they're in tears, that may not be the best fit for them. And that's why you have to look at your kid, look at what they're able to do, and then choose appropriately. Pre-AP and AP is not for every kid.
That's true.
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily the kiss of death, but it's not going to help their GPA any.
And let me tell you, this is something that I know I'm asked all the time, and I'm sure every counselor in this district can attest to this, where kids say, how do I improve my GPA? Well, you make better grades. I mean, it really is that simple. I mean, if you have a 3.0 and you want it to go up, then make above a 3.0. Granted, if you have a semester that you make a 3.2, a 3.0, and you add a semester of a 3.2, you're only going up a smidge. If you have a 3.0 cumulative and you have a semester that you make a 4.0, you're going to go up more. So the higher that kid can get. Now, I know I have this conversation with students too, where they say, well, I need to get my GPA and class rank up, so I'm going to sign up for more pre-AP or AP classes. And then you look at their stuff and they're a 10th grader, and they've never taken a pre-AP class, and now they want to do all pre-AP. That is a terrible idea. It just doesn't make sense. And it goes back to exactly what Ms. Schmidt just said, that know your skill level. If your kid made a C in an academic class, they don't belong in a pre-AP class the next year or an AP class. It's just not smart. Okay, we had a question.
Can I say something real quick too? And this is personal. My oldest son is a freshman in college. And so he went to one of these competitive high schools in Katy. And I will tell you that the academic classes are going to prepare them for college, period. You don't have to worry about what's going to prepare them. They will be prepared. But if you are very concerned about their GPA, sit down with page 32 in the course catalog and do their GPA. Calculate it. If they're in 8th grade, calculate it. What are you likely to make? If you can make A's in these classes, this is kind of the range that we're looking at.
And look on your school's website. There's something that we do every year that's called a school profile that will show you kind of the breakdown. So if you see like my kid's sitting in 11th grade, they have a 4.6, is that going to put them top 10%? Top 20%? Is that going to put them top 10 kids in the class? Those things are out there for you guys. So look on your school's website. Okay. On the school's website, you'll find the school profile. School profile is what the word you're looking for.
When or can they start applying for the scholarships?
That's a good question too. Most scholarships are for seniors. Most. Not all.
So going into their senior year, or they have to already be a senior, or
most it wants them to be a senior already. A lot of times it will just say this is for a graduating senior for the class of 2019. Sometimes it'll say this is for a current 11th or 12th grader. Sometimes it'll say this is for a current high school student of any grade level. Almost all of them though are geared specifically to seniors.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So I have
start looking in the summer after junior year.
Okay, summer, junior year. Okay, that's
yep.
So when you're putting together a list of colleges to apply to and you're wondering about the financial component, if you're looking for merit-based scholarships, where's that information? How do you judge which schools might be offering your kid the most? How do you put that, where's that information?
Right. That's a great question. That needs to come from the universities. And so I think it's an awesome idea. Take your college visits. At the beginning of the presentation, that was one of the things as a junior and senior to visit those colleges. Juniors and seniors get 2 college visit days. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but there's a form in the counselor's office or in the AP's office that the kids get that before they take the visit. They sign off saying that the kids passing their classes, they're in good standing, and then they can take that visit. So 2 days as an 11th grader, 2 days as a 12th grader, and it does not count towards exemptions. That's a good time, really. If a kid has a top 2 right now, visit those schools as a junior and say, hey, I'm top 10% in my class, but I made 33 on my ACT. What does that give me? Because I don't necessarily know all those answers that the college folks will. And a lot of times, like I said, it will tell you they can tell you It's not easy to find it on their websites usually, but they can tell you, you got a 33 on your test, you automatically get X amount of money, just like the national merit one that I mentioned earlier.
And also, if you're looking at very selective schools, highly competitive schools, you want to go and visit them. You want as much interaction, like on their list. They know who your kid is. They know you're really interested, because then you have more of a chance to get more money, and you have more of a chance to be admitted into the school. If you are interested in like Yale or Chicago or Harvard or something like that, and you've never been, you must not really be interested.
Okay, last call.
One thing to add.
Yeah.
Also, with comparing schools, you usually have a deadline where you can decide if you're going to go to the schools or not. So, in case your senior year, usually it's going to be May 1st, depending on the school. You can get offered your financial aid, and you can compare packages, so that way you can see what's the best fit for you, what's going to make the most sense. We have a tool here. It's actually kind of a cost comparison sheet, so you can add up all the different resources you're going to be available and all the different expenses, so you can see what's going to be the least cost to you then. But usually you have until May 1st of senior year to kind of decide those things if you want to.
And also, there was a question, I think, in the back asking about applying for scholarships and different things like that. Please keep in mind there's also summer bridge programs for underclassmen as well. I know Rice University offers things in the summer, as well as TCU, Prairie View, Rice. And these summer bridge programs assist with getting to that university possibly, and it exposes them to that particular college for that summertime. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 2 weeks, sometimes it's a month. But it's a great experience. Sometimes it's specific to their major, possible anticipated major. So definitely go onto those websites, because all that summer bridge type of programming is out now, because it's March. And so, because usually they start selecting it by deadlines of May 1st, June 1st, before June 1st. So that's an excellent way of students that are underclassmen to look at going in the summertime to experience different colleges, as well as students that may have not gotten into their university. They could maybe go to a summer program leading into their freshman year of college, and if they do well in that summer program, the college will provisionally admit them. Okay, so there's different options and different creative ways of getting to the university that they want. You just have to kind of ask questions to see if there's a different route to get your child there.
And one quick thing I also wanted to add when it comes to comparing costs, you can usually go to the university's financial aid website, and they usually have a cost of attendance calculator. You can see how much it's going to cost you.
Okay, last call. One more.
Is there an automatic or preferred path for example, Houston Community College students to get into the UT system? Or I know in California there is such a thing, but I don't know in Texas.
That's a good question. I don't think any of them will tell you that, but like, I personally think that A&M is going to take somebody from Blinn before they take somebody from HCC, but they're never going to tell you that. I mean, a lot of it, like Blinn is very different though, because Blinn really is the little brother of A&M. So, so they really do a lot of stuff together. I mean, these A&M guys can probably attest to that. But yeah. You want to add?
I don't have anything specific for UT from HCC, but I know there is the engineering academy that has HCC and Texas A&M. Oh, specific.
Like
okay.
basically in general, like would one community college lend
Got you.
itself?
Well, sometimes there are programs and it's not going to be for every school, but I know for Houston Community College there is the engineering academy, so you're going to be dual enrolled at the community college while you're at the university as well. And so that way it's going to be a better chance for you to get into and get admissions. There's also something for A&M with Blinn, like he was mentioning, called Blinn Team. Same kind of thing. You take most of your classes at Blinn and a few classes at A&M, but you get the same experience of being a student at A&M and get all the same benefits. And once you meet a certain admission requirement, then you can apply to be admitted full-time into the university. Oh, yes.
So she was asking, are they looking at the community college or like high school when you're applying to transfer? So they're gonna, if you're at that community college for like a semester, they'll still want high school information. But if they're at that community college for a year, 2 years, high school, they don't look at it. They're gonna look at everything they did at community college. Their resume starts all over academically. So if you have a student who's diehard, I have to go to A&M or I have to go to UT Austin, but they can't get in, he was talking about looking at Blinn for Texas A&M. Blinn is the community college right in town. They work with Blinn a lot. If they really want to go to UT Austin, look at the community college in the city of Austin, because frankly, they work with the community college physically closest to them. They do a lot more. Their systems work better. They prefer this. They know how to work better. So if it's Texas State, look in San Marcos, that kind of stuff.
Also, one thing to add, go to the source, go to whatever university your child wants to transfer into and ask them, who do you work with? Same with the community college as well. Say, hey, do you have any programs? They might be bridge programs into a UT or a Texas State or something like that.
And I would like to say about community colleges, please know that it's not just for students that are low performing, because a lot of students go there that are top of their classes just because they want to go get their core out of the way and transfer in later and save money for college. So just because your child, it's not, just because you go to community college does not mean because you didn't make the grade in high school. So I just want to make sure, because that's a soft subject for me, because some students, it's fine to start off at community college and transfer into a major university as a junior, okay, and save money. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you were like the 2.0 at your high school. You can still go to community college and transfer in, and you're top of your class. You want to wrap it up?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out this evening. I hope that you have gotten some valuable information. Again, this presentation, the video of the presenters tonight, as well as the slideshow presentation, will be posted on our website. So thank you again.